to the November 23rd, 2021, 6:30 p.m. City Council meeting. We do have a quorum, so I will call this meeting to order. Would you please join me in a moment of silence? In the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There's not a lot of things I like about meeting over here, but boy, the pledge sounds good. It's like, whoo. Clerk, would you please read the rules to speak, please?
The following is the public comment procedure for the City Council meeting at 6:30. Individuals wishing to speak on public and non-public hearing agenda items must complete a sign-up card prior to the item being introduced. Those wishing to speak on quasi-judicial public hearings must complete a sign-up card and sign the oath. Sign-up and oath cards are available in the table over here in this meeting room. Individuals wishing to speak on non-agenda items may do so under petitions and requests from the public present. This opportunity is offered twice in the meeting, and individuals may speak at either the first or the second petitions and requests, but not both, and no sign-up card is required. Next, citizens shall not comment on any issue more than once during the meeting. All comments except petitions and requests must address the pending issue, and citizens will be given 3 minutes to speak on agenda items. In addition, citizens wishing to speak on the consent agenda must submit a comment card identifying the items of interest. Speakers shall be given 3 minutes per item. However, citizens wishing to speak on more than 3 consent agenda items shall be limited to speaking for a total of 10 minutes, regardless of the number of items identified. And finally, all sign-up cards and exhibits being submitted to the City Council shall be placed in the box on the table in this meeting room. Thank you.
Thank you very much. City Manager, do we have the minutes to approve?
No minutes, sir.
Thank you very much. City Manager, special recognitions and presentations, please.
We have none, sir.
Thank you. Would you like to make that move right now?
Sure. Mayor and Council, good evening. And we'd like to thank you for allowing us the accommodation to have this meeting here as we repair the elevator in our City Hall. So that's why we're here. First off, Council, we'd like to move item 9C, which is a conditional use permit 8/2021 for State Road 405 and Grissom Parkway gas station to now. And we'd also like to add item 8U to consent, and the title of that will be the scope and fee for S&M&E Incorporated to provide planning services to complete a telling of the full history preservation grant. That's time sensitive, and we didn't get the information back from the consultant until Friday. So we would like to add that particular item to consent, and you have that in your packet, hard copy. So I'll need a motion to move 9C to now, and then a motion to add 8U to the consent.
Can I get a motion to move 9C to this time? Go ahead.
Move 9C to now and add 8U to the consent agenda.
All right, let's take one vote at a time. Can I get a second on 9C? I have a motion by Vice Mayor, a second by Member Jordan to move 9C to now. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Moves to now. Can I have a motion to add consent agenda item U to the consent agenda?
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion from Vice Mayor. I have a second from Member Jordan. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? All right, that we've added. So moving to 9C.
Yes, sir.
City
And,
Manager.
the actual title is Conditional Use Permit 8/2021 State Route 405 and Grissom Parkway gas station. And the city attorney will read the quasi-judicial procedures for this item.
During the public hearing portion of the meeting, anyone wishing to speak on a quasi-judicial item must first sign a public hearing agenda card and sign the oath contained thereon. These cards are located on the table at the entrance to the chambers. If you have photographs, sketches, or documents that you desire for the City Council to consider, they must be submitted into evidence and will be retained by the city. Please submit such exhibits to the city clerk, who's placed here at the end of the table. City clerk, of all persons wishing to speak before the city council, sign an oath card swearing to tell the truth, full truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
If there's anyone present who has not signed an oath card that wishes to speak on a quasi-judicial item, please submit a card at this time. City clerk, have all agenda items been properly advertised?
Yes, sir.
In the event that a council member has received any ex parte communications, verbal or written, outside of this hearing, the council member shall disclose the identity of person, group, or entity with whom the communication took place and the subject of the communication, including all opinions or facts discussed. Any written communications must be disclosed and made a part of the record. In the event a member has conducted an investigation or site visit or received expert opinions regarding quasi-judicial items, said visit or opinion shall be disclosed.
I have not done any research. I drive by that area about every day, and I got one email, and I can certainly get that to you.
And to let the audience know, regarding the order of presentations for quasi-judicial, first council will receive staff's presentation, followed by the presentation of the applicant. Following the applicant's presentation, the floor will be open to public comment, and the applicant may make a rebuttal.
And we're ready to go.
Yes, sir.
Do I need to
The
discuss?
applicant is requesting a conditional use permit for storage and use of regulated substance in the area of critical concern in order to establish a retail fuel sales use convenience store located at 1245 Grumman Place. The subject property is located at the northwest corner of the intersection of Columbia Boulevard and Grissom Parkway and is within the area of critical concern. A well-filled protection operating permit application has also been submitted to Water Resources Department and is under review. In addition to the operating permit, the applicant is required to apply and receive a CUP for storage of use of regulated substances in the area of critical concern in order to place fuel tanks underground. The Titusville Environmental Commission recommended approval of this 5-2 with conditions that the applicant provide a report to City Council with the following information: lifespan of all fuel equipment, record of how many alarms go off at locations of the proposed owner, how many tank failures have happened, how many tanker spills, how many response time to system failures and cleanup process, members voting in opposition to these concerns of toxins that do not go away as stated with a tank should be above ground, and because there is no reconciliation to a system failure and should be a backup tank to capture 110% of the volume of the fuel system. The Titusville Planning and Zoning Commission considered this request at their November 2021 meeting and recommended approval unanimously 7-0. Ms. Busaka is available. She has a presentation for you of this, your CUP.
Ms. Busaka, hold 1 second. Member Stokel?
Do we need to disclose? Because I had to disclose some stuff too. Should I do that now or later? Okay, I saw a Facebook post where petitioned for people that were against it. I saw a Facebook group where people were for this project. I've driven past the piece of property. I talked to a resident that lives in the neighborhood. And I also had an email from someone that I responded to that I can make part of a public record as well. None of that has influenced my decision tonight.
As far as the email, can you state the substance of the email, the subject of the?
Yep, the resident lives in the neighborhood, says he is for Wawa, but thinks it's the wrong location. And I said, thank you for your email.
Okay, and any opinions formed from?
Nope.
Same email I got, and I purposely held until after this meeting to respond. Member Robinson?
Yes, I guess everyone that reporting that they drive past it, I guess I should report that I stay in the neighborhood, within a couple of blocks of where we are talking about. So I'm somewhat familiar with what's going on.
Okay, I guess.
Member Jordan?
Yeah, since my business is very close by there, I have to drive by there every day, and I've received the same letter also.
Okay. Anything else from council? Ms. Busaka?
Let me say, I think I
hold on.
did too.
Okay.
I think I did too. But yeah, I have driven by. I used to drive by there a lot, but I don't anymore.
Okay. Member Busaka. Ms. Busaka.
The reason that we're here this evening is because the Hazardous Material Technical Manual requires that any non-residential activity that will store, handle, or use any regulated substance, including fuel, within the area of critical concern must obtain a well field protection operating permit if they have more than 5 gallons of fuel on site. The property is currently zoned community commercial, which means that the convenience store is not the issue this evening. That is a permitted use, does not require any approval by this council. The issue is the location of fuel tanks within the area of critical concern. The technical manual states that an affected person may apply for a conditional use permit pursuant to Chapter 34 for additional storage, that is the above 5 gallons, or use of a regulated substance in the area of critical concern if it can be documented that, and this is an or, special or unusual circumstances exist which are peculiar to the particular non-residential activity, which are different than other non-regulated residential activities, or adequate technology is in place which will isolate the facility or activity from the potable water supply. That's your criteria this evening. In addition, it says, the code says that you may provide additional appropriate conditions and safeguards that can positively protect the well field. At the planning and zoning meeting, there were concerns that did not specifically relate to the well field. And your charge tonight is to consider the technology is in place to isolate the facility or activity from the potable water supply, and any additional conditions that you choose to put on must be applied to protecting the well field. So any issues that you hear that are not related to the well field, while I'm sure they're very important, are not really a point of this discussion this evening. I want to let you know that the staff has reviewed this thoroughly, and I'm going to make my presentation short because I know the applicant has a great deal of technical information to provide to you, but I do want you to know that per 40 CFR parts 300 and 355, the diesel fuel and gasoline are not listed as extremely hazardous and therefore are only regulated by a portion of the hazardous materials requirements in the area of critical concern. The fire department has reviewed this and has not expressed any concerns or objections to the request. As you heard, the Water Resources Department is reviewing a operating permit, but that cannot be issued until the CUP has been approved. There will be a required landscape buffer, and this has nothing to do with the tank. This is simply that screening and buffering is required for this, and it will be a 30-foot wide landscape buffer along Columbia Boulevard, a 20-foot wide landscape buffer along Grissom and Grumman Place, and a 10-foot wide buffer adjacent to Grumman Place. The proposed hours of operation is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It should be noted that although these are different uses, the adjacent hospice use to the west also operates 24 hours, 7 days a week. The question again is whether there's adequate technology in place to isolate the facility or activity. The subject property is located more than 3,500 feet from the nearest wellhead, which is outside of the Florida Department of Environmental Protection's required 500-foot setback and the city's required 750-foot setback. So if this same use were being asked to simply, it was outside of the area of critical concern, it would meet the setbacks required by both DEP and the city as far as hazardous materials from wellheads. The staff has no recommendation on additional conditions and safeguards to be applied, and it's our analysis that this does meet the requirements of the technical manual. However, that's ultimately your decision. I'd be happy to answer any questions I can.
Member Robinson.
Yes, but my first question, and as I was reading this, and I just want to get it, the distance between the housing, when you get down to the corner of Sesson and 405?
I measured, and this is based on the property appraiser's database as a little measuring tool. I measured that the closest residence is 478 feet from the property line, and then there's a second the closest one is 400 feet from the property line, from property line to property line, 490 feet from the home. And as way of example, there is a BP station on the corner of Sisson and Columbia, and which is 501 feet from the neighboring property line, which is relatively the same. And the Sunoco station, also on the corner of Sisson and Columbia, are 520 feet from the residential property line. The difference with the BP station is that there is no development between the BP station and the nearest residence. In this case, the residents are actually abutted by another use, which is the hospice, not the vacant property that's subject to this.
Thank you.
Member Jordan.
Yeah, I think my question was answered because I wanted to know what the distances were between. Excuse me. Know what the distances were between the property and the residence. But you said something really important. They're zoned to go there. Our big thing is to make sure that the residents are protected, but also, DEP and the city has requirements as far as where tanks go and all that, so.
Yes, this is all about the area of critical concern.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Vice Mayor.
So one question. It looks like these tanks are built, have a 20-year lifespan, just from reading the report. Did they indicate how often they planned on replacing them?
I did watch the P&Z meeting, but since they're here, it might be better to ask them directly.
Put them on the spot.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Thanks.
Anything else from council? If not, let's have the applicants come forward and do their presentation, and we'll go from there. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. I do have something for the clerk.
You apparently did.
I have no chance. I have no chance.
I'll blame our office printer.
Yeah.
Happy to read it.
Jeez. What a way to start.
Yeah, right. So my name is Matt Williams, 7331 Office Park Place, Melbourne, Florida, 32940. I'm here as the applicant for the conditional use permit 8/2021. I promised P&Z that this is a slightly updated version of the questions that the TEC had a few weeks ago. Happy to go through them if you'd like. However, they wanted to make sure they're in your packet, and again, this relates to some additional questions they asked. However, we're here to talk about the criteria that we're obligated to fulfill and the technology of the tanks, if there's any questions. So, yes, similar to what Mrs. Busaka just mentioned, and I won't hit all the same points, but we're not asking for any amendment or rezoning to the property or future land use. And, we're here because we're on the edge of the area of critical concern, and the tanks that, in the area of ACC, we're allowed to have this hazard material, and we have to meet certain criteria. There's 12 criteria that we must satisfy to be compliant with the conditional use permit. Staff confirmed that we have met or exceeded all 12. And there are 21 requirements that we must satisfy under the hazardous material technical manual requirements. And staff has also confirmed that we have met or exceeded all 21. Last week, we met in front of P&Z, and after a lengthy discussion, they suggested approval 7-0. And again, we are 3,500 feet, the actual tanks are 3,500 feet away from the closest active drinking well. And as per Ms. Bisaka mentioned, FDEP suggests 500 feet, and City of Titusville suggests 700 feet away from that. I'm here joined with a Wawa representative, Robert Grassman, who is one of their engineers. He is able to speak with any questions. However, I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have now or after the comments, but I'll leave it at that.
Vice Mayor.
Okay, so let me start out. Can you describe the tank, okay? And I guess I'm confused about the brine area. So I'm envisioning a tank with a second tank and brine in between.
Correct.
Yes.
And I'm going to turn it over to the technical things, or not my forte.
Okay.
If I,
So-
excuse me.
Sure.
Page 571 of your information is probably a good place to start.
Yeah, thank you.
I think I was having problems with my computer this afternoon. So that was part of the problem. Oh, I have special treatment. Thank you.
I figured she couldn't read the small print.
That's Robert down there. I think I have the same glasses you have.
That's true, that's why I know.
So,
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Robert Grass.
explain what I'm seeing.
Hi, yeah, I'm Robert Grassman representing Wawa. So your impression is exactly correct. So our tank systems have an exterior wall with a
Okay.
brine solution on the inside and then an interior wall. And that brine solution is continuously monitored. So if there's a puncture in the exterior wall of the tank or the interior wall of the tank, the brine solution leaks out to the interior or it can leak out to the exterior, and that drop in brine levels will alert our corporate office and we can respond immediately.
Okay. So what is the lifespan of these tanks?
It's actually 30 years. They're covered by a 30-year warranty, and they do use the latest technology. They're all built out of fiberglass instead of the old steel tanks,
Okay.
so they don't degrade under the acidic conditions of soils. The actual lifespan's not known for the tanks, but we do annual inspections of all of the monitoring equipment. I'm going a little bit more detail than what you asked, but
No, that's fine.
all of our connection points with all of our piping all have basically holding tanks. So if there is some kind of disconnect or fluid gets into these buckets, basically beneath all these connections, those are also continuously monitored. So
Okay.
any kind of leak at all immediately goes back to our corporate office and we respond within 2 hours.
How often have you been having to replace the tanks, or have you ever replaced?
We have only replaced 3 tanks, and we replaced them preemptively because there were some deflections in the walls. And so rather than deal with a cleanup or a spill, we went ahead and removed those tanks and replaced them.
Okay.
And those were 3 tanks in the same site. There was a deflection in one tank, and rather than risk something in the other tanks, we just went ahead and removed them.
And what do you mean by deflection?
So basically a bend, in the wall where the soil
Okay.
pressure or something was causing the tank to dent in.
Okay, that makes sense. How sensitive are these before you get an alarm? I mean, is it something where, a cup of brine spills out and you're notified, or is it?
Well, it's
I-
completely encapsulated, so
Okay.
any change in the volume inside that brine layer would notify us immediately.
Okay,
It doesn't, brine doesn't fluctuate over time.
Okay. I think I got it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I think we are supposed to know this, but give me an illustration or paint a picture for me. The tank goes how deep?
The tanks are 25 feet-ish or so deep. So the tanks themselves are, I mean, if you see them in person, they're gigantic, but we do a complete inspection once they're delivered to the site to make sure none of them are damaged before going into the ground. We've sent them back for chips the size of a quarter. So they're encapsulated within a stone barrier that has concrete then poured on top of it for ballast in the tanks.
So once they're 25 feet deep and there's concrete over top of it, I guess.
Yeah, so I should clarify, the bottoms of the tanks are about 25 feet deep. The tops of the tanks are 5 to 6 feet deep.
And they're double ply. There's,
All the way
if
around,
there's a
yes.
problem with one, there's another. It's okay. So you talked about you were preemptive in your replacing of a tank, or that's how it's gone for you, and there was a dent or something. How did you see that if it's 25 feet deep?
So we also monitor the capacity of the tanks. We know how much fuel comes in, how much fuel goes back out, and those things are continuously monitored. So if we can't fill to the volume that we're supposed to be able to fill at, it would show us that the discrepancy in volume, that there was a problem.
So if you're filling the tank and it's not taking as much as it should, that's an indication you have a dent.
That's correct.
Is there such a thing as a outward dent that might allow you to get a bit more?
So, I mean, and I'm sorry, because I wasn't directly involved in the situation, but these tank walls are extremely rigid. They're not like a rubber material. Once we remove all of the fuel out, we can certainly go in and do an inspection, but we have consultants that come and do that, but I don't have that immediate answer for
Okay.
you.
All right, anybody else?
Yeah,
And we're back over there.
sorry.
It's okay.
So I'm curious. You know, I've never seen one of these tanks.
I didn't mean that in a negative way, we're playing tennis, so I'm saying you to me, you to me.
Swing. So you can actually go into the tanks and do an inspection?
We have, yeah. So we actually did a project recently where we were adding another fuel type. So we've recently added ethanol-free fuel to all of our stations, even the ones that didn't have it.
Okay.
And so we've retrofitted some of those where we've taken all the material out, sent people in to build another wall inside the existing tank, and then replace the fuel. So yeah, we can access them while they're in the ground.
Cool, okay.
Very good. I see nothing else from council, so would, clerk, could you call the cards?
Yes, sir. The next person is Sean Fortier, I believe with the project, if there's questions. Mr. Fortier. Nathan Slusher.
Pass. My question was answered.
Bill Textera. And he has information to distribute.
Good evening. I got 3 minutes, so I'm going to yap a few minutes. My name is Bill Texera. I live at 1388 Meadowlark Drive. I love Wawa food. However, I'm here in regard to property, and some of the things I heard here sounded like when St. Francis came in. And I put a little presentation together for you, and it shows you on the first exhibit Wawa proposed. It shows hospice at the top. The next exhibit shows you 2 retention ponds. Meadowlark Drive, the houses, if you go down in rotation, I should have done a PowerPoint, but my friend was busy back there. And then it shows you the tree line, the buffer zone. Well, you know what's funny? It sounded like over here the buffer zone. Well, when St. Francis put that buffer zone in, what they did was stop the flow of water, the surface water, going under Grissom, if you look at that, you can see, excuse me, where the water behind St. Francis is running, but the water in the retention ponds and also up above, behind the houses back here, in the flow, there's no place for it to go. So, my question is, what happens when Wawa comes in? Are they gonna correct the problem if it gets worse? Are you gonna correct that problem if it gets worse? Because you're gonna put fill in. I know, I can't hear well, but I'm sure you got better hearing than I have, right? No. So are they gonna put fill in? When you raise land, what happens with water? It moves. So where is all that water gonna go? So my question to you is, what is Wawa gonna do? Now, the other thing, this has been going on for a few years. I was involved with St. John's Waterway back when. They offered, excuse me, they offered to pay the city money to go in and correct it. And the city said they couldn't go on private land, no offense. But you ever hear of a dispensation? The HOA could give the city a dispensation to go on the property. And that was never, ever happened. So and you saw the pictures there. I put it in rotation so you can see all the pictures. That's the way it looks today. All right, that's today. If you go by there, you'll see it. So again, I got 29 seconds. I appreciate the time. My question to you guys, if the water gets worse, is Wawa going to take care of it? Question. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next card, please.
Courtney Chabet.
Hello, I'm Courtney Charvet. I live at 5588 River Oaks Drive, behind the proposed Wawa. I'm also the HOA president of Meadow Oaks 4 and 5, and I've received several, just like you did, emails regarding concern, and, I'm here as the homeowner president of our property values. That's one of my main concerns, being a part of the HOA, is to keep our property values up. And there's other people here tonight that are, my neighbors here, which bet you think that's what I'm going to talk about. But I'm not. I'm going to talk about an area of critical concern. So while I have 100% confidence in Wawa's operation of a convenience store and a gas station, one thing that I don't have confidence is myself. I ride some sketchy motorcycles that aren't that great at holding gas, and I fill up my boat every weekend. And in fact, most gas stations spill about 40 gallons of gas today. Not the gas stations, but me, when I'm filling up at a gas station. So my proposal to this, because we're talking about the area of critical concern and putting a gas station in an area we're concerned about, because that's where we drink our water from, is this really an area of critical concern, or are we doing things to make it look like we're doing things for the environment? And then when it comes to development, we make them fill out a form and then submit all the things that they do in a regular area, if I'm correct. I mean, you would do the same things for a Wawa anywhere, I'm sure, because they're a safe company, and I have 100%, I'm not an engineer, but I have confidence that they can do it. But I am not confident in myself filling up my boat without spilling any gas, filling up gas cans to fill my mowers. We're going to spill a lot of gas at that Wawa, right on top of our well field. So let's just consider this area of not so critical concern. And that's what a vote for this will be a vote for. And it will affect every vote to put any development in this area of critical concern, because there's other undeveloped commercial property that you'll be approving gas stations over our well fields. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Busaka, can you add anything to that in regards to, is there any different forms, any different questions asked when you're in this? I mean, we're obviously here today because of the critical concern area of critical concern. And also add, if somebody spills gas on the concrete there, is that a factor at all?
I think that the engineer would probably be, the applicant would be better able to explain to you their system for maintaining gas where there's
Okay.
been a spill. But if you're asking, is what we do here different than what we do for most gas stations? Gas station, convenience stores with fuel are not required to go through any public hearing, no conditional use permit. Once they have their approved zoning, then it's strictly an administrative decision. So the fact that this is in an area of critical concern and that there's a storage tank is the reason that we're here this evening. So yes, this is substantially more review than is required should this, if this use were requested on just the other side of Columbia, it would be outside of the area of critical concern and it would not have come to you at all.
Thank you. So it obviously is a different process because it is an area of critical
Yes, sir,
concern.
absolutely.
And can the engineer give me an answer on that? That means come on up. And it's not, it shouldn't take a long time, but obviously it's a question that citizens might have. Okay, so you guys do a great job. We never have a problem. You got 30 years of doing a great job, but we don't trust ourselves because we can spill gas. How does that, can that be a problem?
I guess it depends on the quantity of gas. If somebody were to, take one of the pumps and just, I guess, spray it on the ground, sure. But, that would come into our normal response time, where we have somebody out there immediately, and we contract with companies 24 hours a day to make sure that we're addressing those problems.
All right, very good. Thank you so much. Vice Mayor, is that you?
Yeah. So, Peggy, it looked like the area of critical concern stops just on the other side of that gas tank.
Yes,
Am I
that's
correct?
correct. Yes, it's to the dividing line of the area of critical concern in this area is Columbia Boulevard.
Okay. So I'm probably 20 feet more, I'd probably be out of the area of critical concern.
Well, at some point, I
20, 30 feet.
something like
Yeah.
that, yes, that's correct. They have put these tanks as far away as they can from the most active well, from the active well, and that's a requirement of the code.
Okay. And my understanding is that there was some type of gasoline-resistant, petroleum-resistant material that was supposed to be used to keep stuff from spilling. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm
I read
afraid,
it somewhere in there.
I'm afraid I don't.
Okay,
So, again, perhaps the applicant can help you.
okay. Let's see if we can ask him this question. Have I lost my mind, or was there something about petroleum-resistant
I am
product?
not. Yeah, I am not sure if you're talking about some kind of application that would go down on top of the concrete.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not familiar with anything like that, but generally, concrete, gasoline would sit on top of the surface. It wouldn't soak into the ground,
Okay.
immediately. It also dries, very quickly. But on top of that, if there is some kind of incident that does affect the soil or the groundwater, then
Yeah.
we're still responsible for cleanup, either us or our suppliers, to make sure that all of the soil and groundwater conditions are reduced back down to the FDEP cleanup levels.
So the area around the tanks, is that all concrete?
No, it's not encapsulated in a concrete wall, per
No,
se.
not a wall, but a concrete surface.
Over the top of the tanks, yes.
Okay, and what about around the pumps?
So all around the pumps, yeah, of course. I mean, it's the pumps themselves sit on a raised island, and then there's
Right.
concrete over the entire fuel court, then over again the top of the entire tank field, and then inside those fill ports where you've seen those little round covers on all the gas stations, we have the sumps inside there. Those are those fill buckets I was talking about, where if there's a spill,
Yeah.
that happens during the fuel drop or something else, it's contained within those buckets. And we bring our environmental consultants out there to dispose of those, as well as stormwater. If stormwater gets in those buckets, where we might have petroleum product, again, our consultants go out and take all of that water out, that contaminated water out, and take that to a designated landfill.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next card, please, clerk.
Yes, sir, I apologize. I do need to differentiate. We had a Courtney Charvet submit a card, and she had some information to distribute. Did the?
That was Courtney.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had said you, sir, were not
good.
this person. Thank you.
It's a unique day.
There was an article about spilling gas that was submitted.
Okay, so,
I need to distribute.
okay, thank you. I see what you're saying.
We provided 2 copies. Sir, do you need to?
I guess it's one here, so, take a look.
Yes, sir, okay. Okay. So,
Okay, now we're ready.
excuse me. Next is Shauna Charvet.
Hi, do I have to push
Oh,
anything?
yeah, oh, there you go, there you go.
Okay. I was the one that have the petition. I know it's not amazing, but just living behind the neighborhood, I live at 5588 River Oaks Drive. Living behind there, there's been studies shown, couldn't find any particular numbers that show how it lowers home values, but it does lower home values. I couldn't find an article to prove that. But the 24-hour gas station is going to increase traffic at the light, which is already kind of horrible if you've sat at it, to turn into our neighborhood. It is pretty horrible. And into our neighborhood in general, because it's kind of a throughway once you get going. So I also don't want the people that hang out at a gas station after midnight just wandering through my neighborhood afterwards just to see what it's like and go, oh, there's nice houses back here. I also worry about the safety of our children because there are hundreds of kids that live in this neighborhood. Behind the school and in front of the school, there's a school right there. I mean, everybody should know that, but there's increase of buses and traffic in the mornings with people bringing their children to school through that light in that area, and in the afternoons as well. So just having extra boat fill-ups in the morning and Space Center fill-ups and all this with having 2 gas stations like a block away is kind of a little overkill. Not to mention they're going to take out our sign probably or mess up the oak trees of the entrance, which are beautiful established old oak trees. The water tables for the Laurel Run I know has been a concern, and I also worry about the gas spillage on the top from people doing things. There was an article submitted about that. Just the fact that it's so close to one of our city's main aquifers, that means if something happens to the city's water supply, that means we're under a boil water alert. And who ends up paying for the city problems with the water? So that's cool. And then just also we have a lot of wildlife around there. The Enchanted Forest is not far from there. We have a lot of conservation land that's around there. So we have sandhill cranes, we have gopher turtles, we have all kinds of things like that. I don't know if anybody's looked to see if any of those. I know there's a family of sandhill cranes that live in that area. You're also going to have 24-hour lights lit up like a spaceship, you know, when people are right next door at hospice, quietly passing away, which is the purpose of hospice. So that, and then they're from Melbourne. They're not even from around here. They don't know what's probably, I don't even know if they've driven through our neighborhood or even know that there's a school back there or anything like that. And they couldn't even wait till the end of the meeting to talk. They wanted to get it over with right away. So I don't know if that was them or you guys knowing that we had to talk. So.
Thank you. And in actuality, in their defense, that's how it goes. The applicants, it's
to
how
go
they
first.
go, and then they actually will go last when everyone's done speaking. So just so you know that. No problem. Thank you so much. Next, please.
Sir, one more card, Stan Johnston.
Stan Johnson, 860 Poinsett Avenue. I'm a registered professional engineer. I attended the TEC meeting where they voted on it, and the TEC meeting had a number of conditions, and then they approved 5, and then they voted, 2 people voted against it. The people who voted for 5, who voted for it, there's 5 people, had conditions. I don't see any of these conditions have been met. In other words, the applicant, as far as I see, I was there at the meeting, said, we're gonna meet these 5 conditions. Let me read the 5 conditions. The lifespan of all equipment, record of how many tank failures have happened, how many tanker spills, response time to system failures, and cleanup process. I don't see any of those conditions. So I had put a neither on this, but I'm going to oppose it now. They didn't meet the conditions. Furthermore, the people who voted against it said it didn't meet all these technical manual. It said that the applicant said they met all 21. So did Peggy Bisaka. But the TEC meeting said, nope, they didn't. They didn't meet the 110% volume if there's a system failure. They didn't do it. And it's questionable that. So what's going on here? In other words, with all these questions coming up, I don't know what the heck's going on. I thought Peggy said, she said that fuel is not considered a hazardous material. I'm thinking, are you kidding?
Said it's not considered an extremely hazardous
Oh,
material.
okay, excuse me. I'm sorry. And then someone else I thought said it wasn't a hazardous material. But anyhow, but diesel is extremely hazardous for a water thing. I mean, it's just a little bit of diesel fuel destroys a well field. I don't think y'all should know that. So anyhow, I'm concerned. Maybe it'd be okay, but the thing is, with all these things, and I do not appreciate bringing it to the forefront of the meeting. In other words, because people who wanted to speak at this thing, they may come in later, because it's toward the end of the meeting. I don't think you should have ever done that. And then furthermore, I didn't. The 110%, as far as I can see, has not been addressed as being satisfied. And I've known of false leaks. Leaks detectors didn't work in Titusville. We had a big leakage over there at the police station. And I saw drawings and that so forth. It looks like to me the pollution from that little leak, it was as much as a quarter mile away. That's what I believe. Maybe Mr. Blau can talk about that, but we had a leak over there. And we had some other leaks. In fact, I was inspecting a tank system one time, and they had a leak. Another minute?
I see none, sir.
I didn't
Thank you.
expect you to give me a talk one time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that's the last card you said?
Yes, sir.
Applicant, want to follow up? Summarize, nothing? Council?
Yes,
Member Robinson?
Yes, Peggy, would you please restate the concerns that we should be focusing on today?
This is, I have too much paper here, but I will find it. Okay. It says that an affected person may apply for a conditional use permit for the additional storage, and that's above 25 gallons, if there's a special or unusual circumstances which exist which are peculiar to this particular non-residential activity, or there is adequate technology is in place which will isolate the facility or activity from the potable water supply. And then there's an and, that additional appropriate conditions and safeguards may be applied that can positively protect the well field.
Thank you, Peggy. And also for I see the approval for the fire department. They have no concerns about the safety of this?
That's correct.
Okay. And waterworks as well, the distance from the well and everything is acceptable within the zones and so forth?
To my knowledge, now, Mr. Stauffer may have additional information. He, much like my husband, could disagree with me.
Everything's okay?
Oh, my gosh.
That's what I want to know, so that we can, and I understand the residents' concerns as well. But that answered my question. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Vice Mayor?
So since I like trees, let me ask, will this development impact those trees going into Meadow Ridge?
I'm going to invite our civil engineer up here, Sean. He's
being quiet and in the back.
yeah,
Yeah,
he is. He's lucky back there.
he was trying not to talk.
My name is Sean Fortier, and I'm actually from Titusville, but, so there's one member of the team from Titusville.
Yay.
So, yeah, this was about the fuel tank, so we haven't fully engineered every last piece of this to see what trees are gonna be saved. There's some oak trees right in the middle of the site that will have to go, but there is a cluster of them that are on a berm that we need to look at to see if what we can keep. I don't think we're touching anything on the median, or a lot of the oak trees are actually between the sidewalk and the curb, which
Yeah.
are in the right of way, and we can't touch those because those are in the right of way, so.
Okay. Next question.
Sure.
Don't go anywhere. Lighting. Are you guys using like the lighting down low where it's not going to
All the
flood?
lighting is downward facing, which Robert Grissom of Wawa, because they have a lighting spec that he knows pretty well.
Okay. Talk about downward facing.
So we do use all LED fixtures that are directional lighting. The maximum pole height is generally 25 feet,
Okay.
which is, so not the giant, 50-foot poles you see in shopping centers. But all of the LED lighting is downward facing, and would not be pointed at any residential properties.
Okay, so if it's all downward facing, how far, say, off the property, or would it?
I think I know what you're getting at. Generally speaking, there is a 0 or 1 foot candle limitation at a property line, so
Okay.
that there's no spillover into adjacent properties and the rights of way.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it.
Any other council? I would just point out, and I'd like to say where you can save trees, save trees. Like I said earlier, I drive by through that every day, and that's not a place I want to see lose all those oaks out there, and it sounds like at least the ones in the front won't be. There's a lot of things, and even in the, I don't know if it's the HOA memo or what, but it states something about the city council is going to vote to approve or disapprove the Wawa. That's not what we're doing here. And the facts and the stats speak to us, and it's kind of like being in a courtroom, We're really not talking about the traffic studies. We're not talking about how much lights. We're not talking about how many people. I get all that. I spoke at Imperial Estates. That's the school you're talking about. One of them could be talking about Sculptor too, for all I know. But Imperial Estates, just the other day, city manager and I went to Imperial Estates. My grandkids go to Imperial Estates, and my daughter-in-law teaches there. So that's a big deal to me. But at the same time, that's not the thing we're talking about here tonight. We're talking about, can you say that one more time for me?
Yes, you're talking about whether or not this conditional use permit for storage of this fuel is acceptable in the ACC, based on the technical information that you've been presented.
And the things that we've been shown. Okay,
correct.
so with that, Member Robinson, I take that back. Member Jordan. I got one wrong. That's not bad.
Yes, you did. Yeah, I appreciate that. All right, Mr. Mayor and Council, I move that we approve conditional use permit number 8-2021, State Road 405 and Grissom Parkway Gas Station.
I have a motion from Member Jordan. Second. I have a second from Member Stokoe. Roll call vote.
Member Robinson.
Yes.
Member Jordan.
Yes.
Mayor Diesel.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson.
Yes.
Member Stokel.
Yes.
Motion, CUP passes unanimously on the specific area that we voted on. Passes unanimously, and that's the end of that one. With that, we'll take about a 3-minute break here. Call this meeting back to order. City Manager.
Yes, sir. The next item, we're back to 6A, which is the Titusville Environmental Commission. The terms of regular member Thomas Perez, Woody Rice, Laura Lee Thompson, and Beth Ann Tucker expire on November 30th, 2021. The term of alternate member William Young expires on November 30th, 2021. Regular members Perez, Rice, Thompson, and Tucker have expressed their willingness and desire to continue to serve on this board as regular members for a 3-year term expiring on November 30th, 2024. Alternate member Young has expressed his willingness and desire to serve on this board as an alternate member for another 3-year term expiring on November 30th, 2024. There's one additional application on file for your consideration. It's Mr. Robert Johnston, and his hard copy application was provided to you.
At this time, however, we're simply reappointing, and then we're looking at the alternate. Two
correct.
separate votes.
That's correct.
All right. The first thing I would say as I look this over is I pretty much know all the TEC members up for reappointment and appreciate and I'm more than happy to move forward with the reappointment, which means to me that if you wish to say something, you can, but you don't need to certainly appeal that. It's just a vote for reappointment, and I'll let the other council members speak to that, but I know all of you, and I'm pleased you're there. Vice Mayor.
I think our TEC has done a great job, and I would like to reappoint them.
As would I. And before we go there, and you may recall, Vice Mayor, I know you were one of the people that said it when we first came in 5 years ago now.
Yeah.
We really weren't sure what our TEC was doing. And I can tell you, and I'm not saying anything negative, I'm simply saying that I think our TEC has really become pertinent and really picked it up. So with that, unless someone who was out there who was applying would like to say, hey, I still want to say something, I think we're ready to move forward. Okay, go ahead.
Sir, one of your, the applicant, Stan Johnston.
Okay, come on up, Stan. And actually, just to make it clear, if any of the other applicants are here and want to speak, you certainly may do so. I'm just simply saying that we have a pretty good idea and pretty appreciative. Okay.
Stan Johnston, and I'm an applicant, and I certainly approve of these people getting reappointment and so forth. But I do want to stress something, and that is that I have submitted to you also a handout regarding this, and it has to do with some things that the TEC missed, pretty serious things, and that has to do with this right here. I don't know if you can see it. It says sewage spray, diarrhea, and so forth, courtesy of City Council. And that was something that happened for a period of in excess of 4 months. And this is a serious matter, spraying sewage. And I've been putting this toward you for 11 months now. And so now I've changed my wording, which maybe is getting some more attention. And that is, instead of calling it spraying sewage, I call it spraying piss and poop. And the thing is that this is illegal. This is illegal what the city's been doing. Illegal, and it's a serious matter. And we're talking about, and as the consequences, you know, I can give you some good news. It's not going to be murder if somebody dies of this. It would be manslaughter. So that's maybe the good news to you. But it should never have happened. TEC should have addressed it, and council should have addressed it. So this is something that the TEC should be addressing. I certainly would be addressing it if I were on the meeting. And likewise is that the city has denied the flow of sewage into the river, millions of gallons of sewage, after December the 19th. But we got a lot of witnesses, and even this right here, this is signed by me December 22nd, where I have me and other people viewing the sewage going to the river. And that was a sign I had out there. But the city has falsely and fraudulently signed a consent order saying it didn't happen. So this is a big deal, and the city needs to address it. This is environmental damage. This is not protecting the health, safety, and welfare of the public, and the TEC needs to address it, and so do you. So thank you for letting me speak, but If I'm going to be on the committee, I'm certainly going to address these things, and may God have mercy on you, because what is happening here is this is a dangerous situation. It should have never happened. I'm talking about the spraying, for example, and we're talking about spraying the piss and the poop for 4 months, and I'll have to be filing a complaint to the Florida Board of Professional Engineers about that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else here to speak? Okay, with that, Member Jordan.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I move that we approve Mr. Thomas Perez, Mr. Rice, Larley Thompson, and Beth Ann Tucker to another 3-year term to expire on November 30th, 2024.
Second.
I have a motion from Member Jordan, a second by Vice Mayor. Roll call vote.
Member Jordan?
Yes.
Mayor Diesel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Robinson?
Yes.
Passes unanimously with appreciation. Thank you very much for what you do, with appreciation. And now we move on to the alternate. Is the alternate here? Okay. Can we move on to a motion then and move forward? Member Jordan?
William Young.
Mr. Young. Bill Young.
I move that we approve Mr. William Young. I move that we approve Mr. William Young as an alternate with the term to expire in November 2024.
Second.
I have a motion from Member Jordan, a second by the Vice Mayor. Roll call vote.
Mayor Diesel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Robinson?
Yes.
Member Jordan?
Yes.
And again, with appreciation, thank you for applying and being an alternate. Motion passes. We're at petitions and requests, are we not?
No, sir. Item 6B, which is the Board
my
of
bad.
Trustees for the General Employee Pension Plan. The terms of member Terry Talbert expires on November 30th, 2021. He's expressed his willingness and desire to continue to serve on this board for a 3-year term to expire on November 30th, 2024. In addition, Mr. Stan Retz was appointed by the remaining 4 trustees of the Board of Trustees of the General Employees Pension Plan to serve as an additional 3 years for a term to expire on November 30th, 2024. This appointment was made on November 16th, 2021, and must be confirmed by City Council. So there's 2 actions. One is to reappoint Mr. Talbert, and the second one is to confirm Mr. Retz.
Is Mr. Tolbert here?
Yes, sir.
Would you like to say something?
No.
You don't?
That was quick.
Are you sure? No, okay. All right. Thank you very much. Member
like
Jordan.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I move that we approve Mr. Terry Talbert, to a term of 3 years to expire on November 30th, 2024.
Second.
I have a motion by Member Jordan, a second by Vice Mayor. Roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Nelson?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Robinson?
Yes.
Member Jordan?
Yes.
Mayor Diesel?
Yes, motion passes unanimously. Thank you for your service and for 3 more years. Appreciate that very much. Next up.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve Mr. Stan Retz for an additional 3-year term to expire November 30th, 2024.
Second.
Motion by Member Jordan, second by Vice Mayor. Roll call vote.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Robinson?
Yes.
Member Jordan?
Yes.
Mayor Diesel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson?
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Retz, who serves on boards and has for many, many years. Very appreciated. All right, now I believe we are to petitions and requests. Petitions and requests.
Nobody.
Wow. Let's go.
Okay.
Hold on. Come on, Stan. We almost moved right by you. We were holding our breath.
Spoke too fast.
Stan Johnson, I have a card on that, so you can't mess with me very easily. So, I have an apology to make, and I've talked to an attorney, and he said, "Man, you got to watch what you're doing, Stan, with the language, because some people don't appreciate what you're saying." And he doesn't agree with my. He says use piss and poop was. I disagree with me. I say piss and poop probably appropriate because it's not getting any attention about what's happened here. But he's also talking about this thing about calling the city manager a, what was it, a bungling bozo. So I should apologize for that because really, Mr. Luis is not a bungling bozo. I would say he's more like a dishonest bungling bozo, which is very different. And it's an upgrade because he's shown incredible dishonesty. And that is shown also in this right here. This is part of your handout. It's part of your handout. For example, right here, it shows these signs, those two signs that I just had, this one and the spraying sewage, and it also shows a picture out here in the corner. It shows that's on February the 18th, the city built a containment berm, viewed by a number of people, including Jim Thomas and Scott Devine was on there, and two police officers. In other words, sewage was flowing into the river on February the 18th, as viewed by us. And yet, the city of Titusville, including Mr. Luis and right here, Sean Stauffer, they have a consent order with the state of Florida that they provided to council members to approve, and it's been approved, that says sewage stopped on December the 19th, which is completely untrue. So we're having a big problem. And so he's not just a bungling bozo, he's a dishonest bungling bozo. And you've got to think that he's a wonderful person, exceeds expectations and so forth on your performance evaluation. I don't think this is true. Well, this is not true. And look, here's another picture right here, showing a car that had sewage spray on it. That's toxic stuff. And in other words, when I can say piss, poop, and COVID, that's what it's got in there. In other words, my training and experience as a professional engineer, civil engineer, says that Mr. Stauffer is out of his area of expertise when he allows this to happen. We're licensed, both of us are licensed to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
I'm asking for 2 more minutes. I should give it to me.
I see none.
Okay, thank you.
And Stan, let me just say,
Yes,
and
sir.
I've talked to you several times, and you stand up there and say that, people have talked to you about not saying this or that, and clearly that didn't do any good. And in reality, I don't know, and I've said this to you. I've said it to you when we meet. What does that accomplish, really? It doesn't show any sign of knowledge of the topics or anything else. We just talk about piss and poop, and he's this or he's that.
Yeah.
If we were in school, you'd be in timeout, but we can't do that. So with that being said, I hope, because when you get your 10 minutes of consent agenda, you need to be on topic. I'll just say that. Thank you. City Manager.
Yes, sir. We are on to consent agenda item. Council, do you have any questions about consent agenda items A through U? That staff may be able to answer?
See, do you have one?
Yeah, he has one.
Okay, if you click your button, something's flashing here, and I don't know what it is.
Okay.
I'll help you.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. You got it. There you go.
Oh, he was messing with me. Too. It's his fault. It's questions on 8H.
Do you have your question, sir?
Yeah,
We have staff here.
As I perused that and I looked at it, and I understand that everything looks good, looking out for the, I'm going to use the word troops is a good thing. What I did not understand how you came, I understand longevity. I understand that you, after you've been there so much time, and go up in rank, you get increase in pay and so forth. But I didn't understand the differential when some are getting a 3% increase and the other ones are getting 5% increase. I didn't understand why that happened when the increase, everyone is going up. I understand that they go up with longevity. I understand they go up with promotions and all of that. But what is the difference between if a person, I mean, why is there a difference between some getting 3% and some getting 5%?
So this was not an across-the-board, straight-up percentage, everyone gets the same amount. We are addressing our comparable cities. There's 12 of them that we compare ourselves to, and at different points of the time, a sergeant's pay in those might go upward. So now we have to adjust ours upward to match our comparables so that we retain our very fine staff. And so it's not it's always going to be an ebb and a flow to see where we're at. What we're going to see now, we're seeing a trend where Brevard County agencies are starting to creep up on the starting pays. So now the challenge is we're going to have to keep up with them, otherwise we're not going to be able to recruit or retain. So the across the boards are usually for a cost of living adjustment where everyone gets the same thing. What we're doing is working with Mr. De Niro in HR is we're dealing with more of a pay study every time we go because it's constantly moving.
I like that, and now I understand better how it works.
Yes, sir, and I'd like to add to what the chief was talking about. As starting pays go up, it's just not meeting that starting pay, because what happens is we get compression in the next few ranks. It's an overall look at all of the employees. Every time we make an adjustment on one end, we have to take a look at
Right, and that's what I wanted to understand. Okay, beautiful. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Council, anybody would like to pull any items? Okay. And clerk, is there any cards for any items?
Yes, sir, 3 individuals.
Okay. Which items?
Yes, sir. One individual has submitted for 10 items, and they are A.
That's fine.
Okay.
So as long as you have 10, yep. And the other two?
I'm sorry, sir. Yes, sir, Nathan Slusher on 2 different items.
Which items?
A and F.
Okay.
A and what, I'm sorry?
A and S, like Sam.
Was there another one?
No, sir. I'm sorry, sir, no, sir. Mr. Slusher submitted 2 cards, and I started to think there was a
Okay,
third.
we're fine.
great.
No problem. All right. Thank you,
So,
Cindy.
Mayor and Council, with your permission, I'd like to read for the record the titles for A through U, as long as you don't fall asleep as I'm doing
We'll be
this.
fine. Thank you, sir.
Consent agenda item 8A is approve the work order for engineering services to complete a state revolving fund water facilities plan. Consent agenda item 8B, approve the FY 2021 year-end budget adjustments. Consent agenda item 8C, approve advisability for the Titusville Fire Department and the Space Coast Regional Airport Station Consolidation Analysis. Consent agenda item 8D, approve the award of the contract to the Space View Park Loom Treatment. Consent agenda item 8E, approve the contract for the splash pad O&M. Consent agenda item 8F, approve the fleet services add vendor of records. Consent agenda item 8G, approve the purchase of a replacement wheel loader for water production. Consent agenda item 8H, approve the collective and bargaining agreement between the Florida State Lodge of Fraternal Order of Police Incorporated, representing the police officers, corporals, sergeants, and dispatchers, and the City of Titusville. Consent agenda item 8I, approve the collective bargaining agreement between the Florida Lodge of a Fraternal Order of Police Incorporated, representing the lieutenants and the City of Titusville. Consent agenda item 8J, accept the FY22 Victim of Crime Act grant. Consent agenda item 8K, approve the Save Our Indian River Lagoon Contingency Funding Agreement for the Dray Field Vegetation Harvesting Project. Consent agenda item 8L, approve the American Rescue Act Plan Water Resources Projects. Consent agenda item 8M, approve the work order for engineering services for the Morning Dove Water Treatment Sand Filter Rehabilitation Project. Consent agenda item 8N, approve the purchase of a 6-inch portable pump for water reclamation. Consent agenda item 8O, approve the work order for engineering services for the Osprey Reject Plant tank piping improvement project. Consent agenda item 8P, approve the work order for stormwater billing assistance. Consent agenda item 8Q, approve the purchase of a 60-inch slope mower attachment. Consent agenda item 8R, approve the contract for the baffle box design and build. Consent agenda item 8H, approve the enhanced water treatment project state revolving fund loan support services. Consent agenda item 8T, authorize an engagement letter to retain Kenneth Arton, Esquire, of Bryant Miller Olive, practicing attorney, law firm, as counsel for the city of Titusville. And consent agenda item 8U, approve the scope and fee for SM&E Incorporated to provide planning services to complete a Telling the Full History Preservation Fund grant.
Thank you very much. Any council questions? No. With that, can you call the first card?
Yes, sir, Mr. Stan Johnston, again, 10 items.
Do we have another one before that? Nathan? Or was there not?
Oh, in the order received, Mr. Johnston submitted, and then Mr. Slusher
Okay.
submitted.
All right, Mr. Johnson, I tried to get it to be clean up. I don't know which 10 you're going to talk about, so call out the number and letter so I can follow along.
Okay. My name is Stan Johnston, 860 Poinsett Avenue. I'm speaking to you as a professional engineer. I have a handout to you. It's a lengthy handout here, and it has photos and so forth like this. And so, but I believe there's 11 items rather than 10, and I'll just go over the items just quickly, or just by item. So if you want to write this down, 8A opposed, 8B opposed, 8D opposed, 8E opposed, 8G opposed, 8K neither, 8M opposed, 8N opposed, 8O neither, 8S neither. So that's I count that as being 11. And it appears that with only 10 minutes, if I had 3 minutes for each of them, so I'm going to have to sacrifice some. But for example, on 8A, 8G, 8M, 8N, and 8O, let me combine those a little bit because they have to do with someone who's here is Mr. Sean Stauffer. And so let me read a little bit of my handout. So it says, just read out. I won't read it all. It says, for outrageous, open, and notorious dishonesty. That's itemized below. There's 24 of those items. This handout requests, 1, the termination of City Manager Scott Larice and Director of Water Resources, Mr. Sean Stauffer. And 2, the resignation of 3 council members, Jordan, Stokel, and Nelson.
Hold on, stop the clock. I'm looking at all these, and you're opposed, you're for, you're neutral.
Yes, sir.
And we're talking about people resigning and all.
Yeah.
Where are we at here?
Okay.
I'd really like to hear some
Yeah,
facts and stats
okay.
about things you talk about, because you
Okay.
know a few things.
I'm getting into it. Is that what I identified for you was 8A, G, M, N, and O, first of all. So I was talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 11 items. Okay, 5 of those 11 items have to do with Mr. Stauffer.
Okay, I'm going to move on, but
Okay.
assuming we don't know exactly what your concerns are about them,
I
that's
am
what I'd
going
like
to.
to know.
Sure, I am going to.
Not about them, about the concerns.
Oh,
Start the clock, thank you, go.
Okay, thank you. Well, it has to do with him. So anyhow, I'll start with that. But I should say is that it says it says resignation, termination. It says or for them to tell the truth. So there's an option there, right there. Okay. So that gives a nice option. You just tell the truth. So for example, in the case of it is that what these items are expensive. They're money. And the thing is, what's going on? Here's what's going on in Water Resources Department. You won't believe that. When we give them millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. And what do? They can't even answer the phone. When we had the sewage spill, I called numerous times. They didn't answer the phone. So what I did, I went to the Water Resources Department, and I said, I want to talk to somebody. Nobody's there. Can you have somebody call me? Yes. Nobody called me. So, you know, I'm going there, and we're talking about millions and millions and millions. They do not. So, in other words, instead of having all this money spent on these items right here, which I'm giving you 5 items, have somebody pay them to answer the phone. That would be a really good thing to do. I mean, we're talking about multi-millions of dollars. And all that kind of hardware and software and stuff like that, and they can't even answer the phone. And none of that is one time I went there, and after all this stuff, in other words, I've already visited there, and I went there and I brought my car there, and with the sewage on it, and they called the police on me. And I still have, right now, I have a trespass warning. I'm not allowed to go to that building, even though I'm an employee, and so I've been an employee, not an employee now, of the city of Titusville. I can't even go there. So not only do they don't answer the phone, I've got a trespass warning against me, and they don't answer my emails. So I think that we're having problems with, we're having serious problems with the Water Resources Department, headed by Mr. Stauffer, who has to do with these 5 particular items. And I object to them, and I told you which ones I opposed and which ones were neutral and so forth like that. So that's a serious issue. And for example, I told you, you don't want to like to hear about this, instead of saying piss and poop with the sewage spill and so forth like that. It's just incredible dishonesty. I mean, I just mentioned to you about the dishonesty here and here and here and here and here. It's just dishonesty. It's It's what's called false and fraudulent by Mr. Stauffer. And what I'm saying to you is not only is he dishonest, I can't trust him, he's incompetent. I mean, anybody who's a civil engineer who sprays people with sewage. Okay, how's that sound? Does that sound better? Thank you. Who sprays people with sewage, and he does it for 4 months. Just don't have a lick of sense. I mean, it shouldn't be an engineer, at least a civil engineer. I mean, so he should not be in charge of these things, and where he's spending our millions and millions of dollars and can't even answer the phone. So I see that as a problem, and well, it is a problem, and I'm here complaining about it. So let's go to another one. The splash pad, 8E. I'll change a little bit. This doesn't have anything to do with Mr. Stauffer, okay? So relax. But it's $47,400 to operate and maintain the city's splash pad. Wow, that's a lot of money to operate a splash pad. How could it take $47,000? I mean, can't we operate that without outsourcing it? I mean, what does it take to turn it off and on and do the timers and stuff? $47,000. I think really some of these things, they need to be itemized. I'm concerned about 8D. I'm opposed to that at this time because that thing's been operational, not operational for a long time, and now we're going to spend just $84,000 or something like that on that, and which I don't know if it's really going to operate very well or not. This is the same. By the way, this is the same pond where we had a fish kill. This is the same pond where the city was pumping out the pond. This is the same pond. In other words, the city was pumping it out and taking its sewage to the sewage station. And the thing is that the level of this pond, you won't believe this, the level of the pond is the same as the Indian River. It goes in and out. In other words, what we were doing, what the city did, under direction of Mr. Stauffer, which I thought, that was during the sewage spill, we were taking Indian River water, pumping Indian River water, and taking it to our sewage treatment plant. Is that amazing? It is amazing. What the money that the city throws away. It is amazing. So anyhow, I really think that it's not appropriate either for me to have 11 topics and only 10 minutes to give that. So on 8K, I put neither on that. Now that Mr. Stauffer, but Mr. That Public Works Director, what's his name? Cook. He's a good guy, and he's doing a lot. But I really have questions on that because we have these. We're putting in these other things that, for example, we put them at Sandpoint Park, and there's no calculations for that. I'm not sure what we have on this other one, but we don't have calculations for the putting in the biomats at Sandpoint Park. Just like they did half the acreage or something, and it's just a small watershed. So we ought to question what's going on. But so I just put neither on that one. Let's go to another one here. Yeah. Well, if you notice on 8M, it's 152,000. That's the same area where I can't get people to answer the phone calls. 8N, what is that? 41,000. Can't get people to answer the phone. 8O, 32,000. Can't get people to answer the phone. Mr. Stauffer had this. I should have. Here's another one. 8S. I didn't mention that one. That's another one. I don't know how much it is because I didn't get to read it very much. It says 60,000, but it's I don't quite understand how it is because I didn't have time to read it. But it has to do with Mr. Stauffer again. So I don't think he's managed it correctly. He's shown himself to be very much incompetent in what he's done. For example, the two things that are represented by these two signs. In other words, the spraying of the sewage and the
I gotcha. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, can I have another 2 minutes?
I see none. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Sounds good.
God bless you.
Clerk, next card.
Yes, sir. So Mr. Nathan Slusher has submitted cards on 2 items.
Perfect.
That's 3 minutes.
Thank you.
On each.
Good evening, Nathan Slusher, 860 Allendale Street. I just want public clarification for 8A and 8F, or 8S, not FS. They're both for the state revolving funds. And I want to clarify, are we spending $112,000 just to get consulting to hopefully qualify for these funds?
Which one are you on?
8A and 8S. I believe it's S.
City Manager, would you respond to that, please?
No, go ahead, you can stay there.
Or Mr. Stauffer?
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Thank you.
Item 8A is for the preparation of a water facilities plan. This is very similar to what we produced or that council approved about 3 or 4 months ago. And this will be a listing of potential projects to be funded by SRF for the water system. This will occur over the next 5 years. So, and that is something that you must produce before you can apply for a loan for SRF funds. Okay, so that's the first item, and that will set us up for our next 5 years worth of investments at the water plant, for water lines. It will give us access to multiple millions of dollars of funding through SRF. Okay, and then the second item, that is to provide assistance through the Morning Dove Enhanced Water Treatment Project that will help us get access to the funding as well as make sure that our bid documents are compliant with SRF requirements, as well as go through and provide consulting services through the SRF loan process for that project, because there is work that needs to be done during the construction project itself. And so that project's coming up within, I think, the next year or so for construction. And so they are, while they are both SRF funds, they are for 2 separate and distinct activities.
I understand that.
Okay?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And that was all the cards on that, correct? Council? Oh, okay, I know what that is. Okay. Well, I don't have names here, so I have to match it, and I know who this is and what he's going to do. Okay. Do I have a motion? Member Jordan.
I got a question. Sean, this is a difficult question, and please, on 8G, tell me what it is. Replace a wheel loader for water.
Okay, so a wheel loader is it's a small front end loader, and we use it on the Morning Dove water treatment plant site to move lime solids that have been dried or grit that comes out of the treatment unit. Basically, it just moves around waste solids at the plant, puts them in a dumpster.
It wasn't a good explanation.
Looks like a bobcat.
A little bobcat, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Now, I didn't see a number 5, just so you know.
I'm number 5?
You're number 4. All right, go. No, you're not.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor and Council. Mr. Mayor and Council, I move that we approve consent agenda items 8A through 8U.
Second.
I have a motion from Member Jordan, a second from Vice Mayor. Roll call vote on the consent agenda.
Member Robinson?
Yes.
Member Jordan?
Yes.
Mayor Diesel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson?
Yes.
Member Stoker?
Yes.
Passes unanimously. City Manager.
On to 9A, which is ordinances, second reading, public hearings, and related actions. This is ordinance number 33, 2021, and the city attorney will read the ordinance.
Ordinance number 33, 2021, an ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances by incorporating and adopting fees related to building inspection and permit fees, fire permit and inspection fees, special event application fees, and community development fees, amending Chapter 6, Building and Building Regulations by amending Section 6-57 application form, and creating Section 6A1, Building Inspection and Permit Fees, amending Chapter 9, Fire Prevention and Protection by amending Sections 9-6, Bonfires and Outdoor Rubbish Fires, and 9-12, Occupancy Inspection Fee Schedule, amending Chapter 11, Licenses and Regulations by amending Section 11-502, Permit Application, amending Development Review Procedures Manual by creating Section 17 Fees, providing for findings, ratification, severability, repeal of conflicting ordinances, an effective date, and incorporation into the code.
The proposed ordinance incorporates existing fees related to inspections and permitting fees for building, fire, and community development and special event fees into the code. There are no changes to the code, to the amounts of the fees. And Ms. Busaka is available to answer any questions you may have, and this is your final reading, public hearing on ordinance number 33, 2021.
Ms. Busaka, anything?
No, I think this one's easy.
Council, questions?
Well, you can't ask a question.
I
when she
see
said
no questions and no staff
Jesus.
report. Are we ready to move forward?
Cards.
Thank you.
Cards.
Yep.
Oh,
Sir, we have one card, Stan Johnston.
See, he's gone.
There he
He's
is.
gone.
I'm sorry,
He
he's
lost his
there.
place in line.
He lost his place.
We were already done with your card.
You're out
I'm
of
sorry.
luck. I'm here.
All right, here we go. Start the clock.
Okay, Stan Johnston. There's a lot of fees here, and what I'm seeing is the city of Titusville spending a lot of money, and I don't think you're spending it properly. Well, you're not spending it properly, and I'll just explain to you, for example, water resources. Won't answer their phone, yet they're getting millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. And that's not serving the public. And I've also mentioned to you that Mr. Stauffer, I said some words that were not very flattering at all. In fact, if they weren't true, I would lose them. I could be disciplined very seriously by my supervisors, which is the Board of Professional Engineers. But I'm not going to be disciplined because they're true. So, and in regards to these particular fees, is that I want to say is that all those fees that have to do with Mr. Stauffer, as far as I'm concerned, is I have serious questions about them. So it have to do with water resources and Mr. Stauffer. And it has to do with Mr. Stauffer because, as far as I'm concerned, he's bungled it and bungled it and bungled it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other cards?
No, sir.
Member Jordan?
Mr. Mayor and Council, I move that we approve ordinance number 33, 2021, development fees.
A second.
I have a motion from Member Jordan, a second from Vice Mayor. Roll call vote.
Member Jordan?
Yes.
Mayor Diesel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Robinson?
Yeah.
9A passes unanimously. City Manager.
On to 9B, which is ordinance number 34, 2021, relating to solar facilities. This is your first reading, public hearing. Planning and Zoning Commission will consider this ordinance on 17 November, or consider this ordinance on 17 November 2021 and recommend approval 7-0. The city attorney will read this, your first reading.
Ordinance number 34, 2021, an ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 28, zoning, to allow solar facilities as a permitted use in the general use GU and industrial M2 zoning districts by amending Sections 28-54 use table and creating Section 28-255.5 solar facility, providing for severability, repeal of conflicting ordinances, an effective date, and incorporation into the code.
Ms. Busaka is available to answer any questions the council may have on this, your first reading.
And Ms. Busaka.
I just want to clarify that the reason for this ordinance is because the state statute has required us to allow solar facilities within agricultural areas. That happens to be the GU zoning category. The M2 is not required under statute, and so should council wish not to allow solar facilities within heavy industrial, that would not run contrary to this. But we thought that that would be an additional area where solar facilities could be put.
All right, thank you. Do you have a comment?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to ask a
Okay, yeah, go ahead. I'm just wondering if you heard to make that motion. I was gonna say.
Yeah, no, I can't make a motion on first reading, but I didn't understand what you just said. You said in the manufacturing side, what did you just say?
I said that the statute only requires us to adopt an ordinance that requires solar facilities within agricultural lands.
Right.
However, the
understand.
staff went one step further and has suggested
Yes.
that they could also be put into the heavy industrial zone
Okay,
category.
but you say suggested, so it's not in it now.
It is not mandatory by
So
statute.
I would suggest that we put it in the manufacturing area.
Okay.
I might decide to do it on my building or something. You know, so. Thank
Might
you.
not be a bad idea, actually.
Yeah, I know.
No,
Somebody
I'm
give me some
serious.
money to do it, but, yeah, okay.
But just in case you do,
Yeah.
you've got it in there. I think
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
Well, when you say manufacturing, I'm sorry, when you say manufacturing, industrial area
I was
also,
thinking-
right?
This is only advertised for M2. Now, it could be extended to put into other industrial, such as M1, which is light industrial, PID, or the M3. And if council wanted to do that, we could do one of two things. We could adopt this and put a new ordinance together to expand it, or send staff back to the drawing board and re-advertise. Either way, it's the same amount of work on the part of the staff and the same cost to the city. So it's just the choice of the council.
All right, Councilman Mayor, I'd suggest that we allow them to add the industrial and the manufacturing to this and just bring it back to us.
That's exactly where I was when you said that, and especially the industrial. It just looks like a fit for me. And it's like Member Jordan said, that, half kidding, I think, if somebody would pay for it, well, you don't know what kind of grants are going to be out there as we move forward. It would be nice to
Right.
have that in there. I think that's an excellent ad.
And there was,
Vice Mayor.
I was going to say, there's a guy, I believe he's in Daytona, and he actually can come in and set you up with solar energy and have it run back to FP&L where they pay you. So,
Okay.
If you were doing this is only for a solar facility, this isn't for rooftop solar.
right,
Okay.
Right,
right,
right. It's just an ad that might be pertinent sometime.
yeah.
Any other council cards?
So also to be clear, is the intent to withdraw this and come back with a new ordinance? Is
I
that-
think that's what I heard
Right,
council say.
right.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
We'll do that. Thank you.
Yeah, cards.
Yes, sir. One card, Stan Johnston.
Isn't this where you pass, Stan, say pass?
I would love to pass,
Okay, then.
but some things are happening on this.
Talk about solar.
Well, let's talk about the zoning, too. Is that, it says agricultural, so when it goes to agriculture, we go to, what do we have? GU. And how much GU do we have? We don't have anything like we used to have. What happened was a number of properties were rezoned. And I've shared with you some of the zoning that happened in 1993, and that was OR zoning, in which it was done according to the soil survey map and so forth, and people disagree with that, but that's what staff will say. The staff who did it, did the map says it was done by the soil survey map. Other staff will say, no, it wasn't. So, but anyhow, what we have is we have zoning. And if you remember, right across from Park Avenue Baptist Church, there was a lot that was not buildable because it was wetland. And then somebody went and surveyed it and got it out so that they could build a house on it. So the person who had that lot that was zoned OR, they lost their shirt on that lot because they sold it to somebody else that went ahead and had it surveyed. So the zoning changed by what? The survey. Now, what kind of a city organization do we have that changes the zoning by survey? City of Titusville. So, and when we're talking about this particular issue, that seems like, well, that doesn't have any issue. Yes, it does. I'll tell you why. Because, for example, is that I know somebody who had 50 acres in Titusville zoned R3 for over 400 units. And then it was rezoned by the city of Titusville after promising that they wouldn't rezone it because it agreed with the comp plan. Rezoned, and they went it down. They went it down to OR zoning so that it's zoned 0 units now. It was over 400 units, and now it's 0 units. And at one time it was a GU. What does that have to do with what they're talking about? It does. Now, it does in this way. For example, right now, I'm asking you to consider including other, like OR. OR is right now is used for parks and so forth like that. It's used for parks, but you can't use it for solar. I'm not sure that makes sense. So I'm asking you to put OR zoning into this also. You said the state says agricultural. Well, we just wiped out just about all the agricultural with our OR and other zonings. So I'm asking you, if you want a solar, put some OR in there.
Thank you. Any other cards? All right, thank you very much. That is a first reading, no vote. And now we move to D.
On to item 9D, which is resolution number 39, 2021, the vacation of a right-of-way, application number 2-2021, Aguinaldo Avenue. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. The Planning and Zoning Commission considered this item on November 17, 2021, and recommended approval 7-0. An application was submitted by Jesse Wright for Titusville Mall, LLC, requesting the vacation of a portion of the right-of-way of Aguinaldo Avenue, described in your packet under Exhibit A. All utilities have been reviewed for this request and have no objections to vacating the right-of-way. Several agencies requested an easement to be recorded. The Titusville Water Resources staff has determined the sanitary sewer main, which may be within the area to be vacated, is private and no easements required. Staff has recommended 2 conditions for approval. Ms. Busak is available to answer questions that you may have on this vacation of the right-of-way.
The only comment that I would have is that the P&Z did recommend approval with these 2 conditions. And when the issue with water resources and trying to decide whether the sanitary sewer main is public or private continues to be discussed, because apparently this is an area where it's very difficult to tell because of the fact that there's a lot of connections in this particular area. So the staff would recommend that in addition to the cross-access easements that are have been requested by Florida Power and Light Spectrum and Florida City Gas, that the applicant provide an easement to the city as well to allow us access in the event that we do find that there are public utilities in this area. And we're requesting that these conditions be achieved within 180 days of the date of approval of the vacation.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm looking it over here. Council, anything first? Applicant? Applicant? Hello, sir. How are you?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Rodney Honeycutt, 3700 South Washington Avenue. And did I cut it up? I did. Sorry about that. I'll start over.
Here. Says you wouldn't sing. Go ahead, Rodney.
Rodney Honeycutt, 3700 South Washington Avenue in Titusville. And so we're asking to vacate a small portion of Aguinaldo Avenue that protrudes into the Titusville Resort and Destination, which you approved a master plan for a few weeks ago. And this is an old right-of-way. It was originally platted back, I think, in 1924. In 1954, a replat of that subdivision vacated the right-of-way south of here for 3 blocks, but it left one piece down at the other end, and this piece was evidently never vacated, even when they constructed the mall. And so we're requesting that you approve the vacation of this. We agree to the 2 conditions of approval as updated by Ms. Basaka. And if you have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them.
I see no questions. Council, no questions? No questions, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cards?
Yes, didn't have a card?
No. No cards. Let's see. I'm not used to that. Well, there's no cards, so applicant, there's not much to go against. So with that, Member Jordan.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor and Council, I move that we approve resolution number 30. Oh, my God. Chief, he was supposed to come over in.
He's getting old.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and Council, I move that we approve resolution number 39, 2021, vacate right-of-way, application number 2-2021, Aguinaldo Avenue.
Have a motion from Member Jordan, a second from Member Stokoe. Roll call vote.
I have a question.
Question.
Discussion. Is that with the conditions said?
With the, yes, with the conditions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very little discussion, but roll call vote.
Mayor Diesel.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson.
Yes.
Member Stokel.
Yes.
Member Robinson.
Yes.
Member Jordan.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
On to item 10, which is 10A, ordinance's first reading. This is ordinance number 35, 2021, capital improvements element update. City Attorney will read this first reading.
Ordinance number 35, 2021, an ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, updating the 5-year capital improvement schedule of the comprehensive plan of the City of Titusville for the 2022 through 2026 horizon relating to the capital improvement element and providing for an effective date.
The Planning and Zoning Commission, your local planning organization, will consider this item at their December 8th, 2021 meeting. This is your first reading for ordinance number 35, 2021. Ms. Pusaka is available to answer questions that you may have on this ordinance.
Okay. Ms. Busaki, you have anything to add? Council questions? I see Member Jordan, is that? No. Okay, okay. I got you covered. All right. Do you have any cards?
Yes, sir. 1 card, Stan Johnston.
Okay. Stan Johnston, you've got my handout on this, and I'm opposed. And I'm opposed because the City of Titusville is still disobeying their ordinances. Still disobeying their ordinances. And they're filing, the City of Titusville, including the Planning Department, has been filing false and fraudulent report. And I'm talking about, it's mentioned in here about the Resilient Titusville report. The City of Titusville, the Stormwater Management Plan says that The system is supposed to be maintained to be operational. It's not being maintained. I'm talking about Mr. Cook is maintaining what he can, but he cannot maintain outside of the city limits, which I've told you numerous times, is that's between Fox Lake Road and State Road 50 from I-95 to the St. Johns River. That's supposed to be maintained. You should be funding that or getting federal funds to fund it. In fact, in the stormwater management plan, it says to get federal funds to do this with. So what are you doing? You're lying about it, and what you're doing is you're putting the city of Titusville in danger. What you have is a plan. What your plan is, a plan to fail. Is that stupid? Now this comes by inheritance from somebody that I've talked about. Someone I talked to you about being incompetent. That's Mr. Stauffer. He's the one, when I first approached this, and he set it in motion that, by golly, we're not going to do it. And the city of Titusville has inherited it, and they've disobeyed their own ordinances because Mr. Stauffer and so forth like that. So right now is what it is capital improvement elements is nonsense because it's illegal because you're not doing what you're supposed to do. So good luck. If the storm comes, it's going to be your fault. The storm hadn't come. But by golly, I tell you what, I'm reading about the storms that are in this area, and we almost got hit by the storms that would have caused problems. But it doesn't have to be a big storm in a way because we don't know what's going to happen with this system. Maybe it'll even get better. Maybe all this stuff will wash out. Maybe we'll get a big storm and it'll wash out and sort of like clean out all these canals and so forth. But maybe it won't. Maybe it'll overgrow. So you just cross your fingers, cross your toes, and maybe we'll be okay for a few years or during your lifetime. But it's not going to work. But in some years is that we may have mass destruction, so forth. Thank you.
Thank you. Oops. Well, I'm actually thinking about that.
Hit that thing.
Actually, there's a reason for that. There's no more cards? No, sir. And this is a first reading. There is no vote at this time. For several reasons, I am going to take a 2-minute recess. 2 minutes. Meeting back in order. City manager, old business.
There is no old business, sir. We're on to new business, which is item 12A, and council, you'll need to nominate and elect the vice mayor.
We obviously have no staff report on that. Council, number 3 is vice mayor.
Dan, I've always sort of felt like the mayor should be able to pick somebody as vice mayor. I mean, I've always felt like that. I know I'm the vice mayor now, but I think that it should be up to you. I hate to put that on your plate, but it should be somebody that you want to work with, that's easy to work with, and somebody that compliments you.
Well, that would answer, that would be all 3 of you, or 4 of you. 1, 2, yeah, 4 of you. All 4 of you.
There's 4 of us.
So that, to me, right now, unless you have something else to say on that, I feel as though, and it worked that way with me, as a matter of fact. And before that, it worked that way with Matt Behringer. And I don't know how it's worked all along. I guess where I go with that is if the vice mayor has done a good job and wishes to remain in that position, I see no reason to move. However, if the vice mayor is open to say, would you like somebody else, or is there someone that you'd like to do that, well, we can talk about that.
I have no problem with staying in this position. It's actually easier for me now because, as Robert would say, the Carter House is done and you're not walking around with white paint on your arms.
I feel very solid with you as a vice mayor. I would feel very solid with the others as well. Member Jordan.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you this.
Tell us.
Sorry.
That disqualifies you.
Well, I guess so. It may disqualify me, but I'm going to tell you something. I was thinking about this, and we have a good team up here.
We do.
Yeah.
But my time is ending, and you all know that.
Yes.
And I would respectfully ask if you would consider me as your vice mayor for the last year that I would be here. Nothing against you. I love you for sure. But I certainly would desire that for my last year. And that's where I am.
Call this mayor surprised. Because, like I said, it's always gone on that the person who is there stays there. But at the same time, Robert, you'd be an excellent vice mayor. First of all, I would say that if there are occasions I cannot make, you are right there and you have that experience of being a speaker, as do several of you.
Yeah.
I defer back to you, Ms. Vice Mayor. What's your feeling about, and you've kind of said for me to pick, but your feeling about being the vice mayor or maybe moving on is what?
I don't have any problem being the vice mayor. I think, you've always been there. And you know that I hate speaking off the cuff. Robert, I will tell you, you are better at that than I am. But in terms of sitting there and analyzing things and figuring out what needs to happen, I think I have you edged out. So you have 2 different personalities. You just have 2 different personalities.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would feel very, very good about both. And knowing you and having worked with you in several aspects, I would agree that it's kind of what I do. It's a natural thing for me with where I've been my whole life.
Right.
I enjoy, firing up the crowd. Let's go. We are Titusville. Boom. And I think Robert enjoys that sort of thing as well. That doesn't mean there's not others out here who don't. But with that, city manager, guide me on this, because we're going to have to call cards. And I think that it might be the time. I don't know that I would like to have the discussion further after. I'm sure there'll be a card.
Yes, sir. If there's a card, you can call cards, and you
And then we
finish
can
your
come back and
discussion.
make our decision.
We'll see how many nominations there are, and then
Okay.
we'll vote.
All right, let's go from there. Call the card, please.
Yes, sir. 1 card, Stan Johnston.
Here he comes.
That was what I called a recess for.
Stan Johnson, I have a handout on this.
What?
I have a handout on this, and it's,
Are you talking about a pink card?
it says right here, it says, I am requesting the resignation of 3 council members, Jordan, Stokel, Nelson, or for them to tell the truth. Now, and that mentions Mr. Jordan.
Mr. Johnson, what was that word you just said?
I meant shh.
How do you spell that?
S-H.
Okay, go ahead.
This has to do with what's been going on here, and down here at the bottom it says, Chairman of Board of Directors, Parish Hospital. That's Mr. Jordan, and he has shown himself his education in civil engineering. Civil engineering has to do with what Mr. Stauffer and I am doing. I've already told you that Mr. Stauffer is incompetent as a civil engineer, and what he has shown is as far as spraying people with piss and poop. Mr. Jordan's done the same thing. He has acknowledged, and I presented it to him numerous times at parish hospitals and at the council meetings, and he has not stopped it. He continued it. So for that reason, I just think that he should not be considered as a vice mayor. And in fact, I'm saying that he really should be resign from this, or to tell the truth. But any civil engineer should not be spraying people with piss and poop and COVID and what are some of the other ones? Hepatitis, salmonella. The thing is that what happens is that when this is not just sewage from my house, this is general sewage, and it includes what's called blood-borne pathogens. Blood-borne pathogens, and people were supposed to have been, in my time, supposed to be inoculated with hepatitis B. I've been inoculated with hepatitis B. City of Titusville went ahead and put people out there that weren't inoculated, working on that. So we need to straighten it up, and I don't think Mr. Jordan is the one to do it. I think you need to consider someone else, not Mr. Jordan especially, because what he's done. He's a person who stabbed me in the back and done an et tu brute on me. And he's not the one you want to have. So I want you to consider somebody else especially, and I don't know if Mr. Joe would want that, because he doesn't want to be there maybe, but I'm sure he's a good candidate. And Mr. Robinson over there, Pastor Joe, and but we have problems here. We have problems with fraud, dishonesty. That's all my time.
Mr. Johnston, you need a shh. No.
Okay, buddy.
Thank you, buddy. Have a seat. And again, to say that, because you seem to spend all that time on Mr. Jordan, so the humor aside, that's not necessary. You know how I feel about that. And truthfully, that's really why I was hoping to get away from, and I wanted to get that out of the way before we get into the real stuff. I clearly don't feel anything like that about Mr. Jordan. I will say it again. I have 4 people on here, 4 members of council who could easily be the vice mayor and step in for me as needed. I didn't expect that openness, and I appreciate your words as well. So, Member Stokel, your thoughts?
I would like to be, no, I'm just kidding. No, so my view is on this. Number one, I do feel like it needs to be somebody that you as the mayor feel confident in, and I'm happy to hear that. I think it would be any of us, you would. I have seen other cities where they have a different form where they rotate mayor. I've seen them where they rotate vice mayor. I think when we got on, it was kind of tradition that who's been there kind of the longest will move into that role. And I think that the current vice mayor, Jolynn Nelson, I think she's done a fantastic job. I think my view on this is, and I know Robert pretty well, I feel like he served our community for a good amount of years, and I do think it would mean a lot to him to serve that before kind of, leaving this role. So I would like to have him have the opportunity before he does decide not to continue to run. Nothing at all against Jolynn. I would hope to see that Jolynn would be back to potentially be vice mayor, would be my hope. But just knowing Robert, I would like him to be able to have that opportunity to serve as vice mayor. So that is kind of where my heart is at this time. Again, nothing against the current vice mayor. I just would like him to have that opportunity.
Member Robinson, anything you want to add, please? Okay, you're good. All right. Well, then let me just put it this way. It's been my honor, and I have felt like that Vice Mayor has always, I don't even call you your name anymore, I just say Vice Mayor. But you've always been there for me, and again, it's, you care about us and myself as people. And I appreciate that. And you stepping up and saying how you felt, I appreciate that, and that just goes even further to say who you are. I have, and I don't know if everybody will believe us on this one, sir, but I have told you this before. I have, our time together on the council has been an honor, and I've grown to, I don't like to use the word like you, I mean, because that makes it sound like I didn't, but I think that I've grown to respect you and enjoy our time together. So I also do feel that if I was in a situation where, and Vice Mayor's already said this, if I was in a situation where I needed to speak somewhere, or maybe I had 2 places and maybe even 3, I feel like you would jump up and say, yeah, sure, I got this one. And, you know, and I would appreciate that. So I am thankful for your service, Vice Mayor Nelson. I am thankful for all the work you have done for this council, for the city, and we can talk more in a minute, but the Boys and Girls Club, but that's just the tip of the iceberg and a sign of what it is this community means to you. I guess, and I will go forward, and my honor to have served with you as the Vice Mayor, and I am fine, and it's my honor to nominate Member Jordan, Robert Jordan, as the Vice Mayor. Now, from there, do we go to a roll call vote?
Sure, we have to ask if there's any other nominations, and then we'll go to a vote.
Are there any other nominations as I have nominated? And I guess I can nominate. I don't normally nominate anything.
You can make a nomination, open up the
So
nomination.
can I step back? Because I would just leave Robert there.
That's entirely up to you, but then we will
We
get a
still need to
consensus on
vote.
that.
Okay.
Okay, so are there any other nominations? Okay, so then do we just take a roll call vote of yes, or do we just, how's that work?
Correct, you can ask for a consensus. You're not required to have a roll
Okay,
call vote.
okay, Robert Jordan has been nominated by myself to be the, my Vice Mayor. And so I would ask all in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Robert Jordan is my new Vice Mayor, and I thank you so very, very much, Vice Mayor Nelson. And tonight says an awful lot about where you are and who you are, and I appreciate that. And I am honored.
Thank you, sir.
I am
Good luck.
honored.
Good
I
luck,
really want to
Robert.
cry right now, but I'm trying to hold myself. So. Thank you. Appreciate it. Can
We
go
kind
on
of
now?
said all these things, but Member Nelson, do you want to say anything as we move forward, or are you good?
No, I mean,
Wait,
I-
he's talking now.
I
sorry.
enjoyed it. I
Yeah.
think Robert will do a great job. Speaking in public, it's not necessarily my strong point. You know, obviously, I had to learn it over the years. You really want to make me feel uncomfortable, make me talk about myself. And that just totally, I lose it. And I think, I mean, the other night I had fun speaking, but it's not my favorite. And you enjoy it.
I do.
So,
You got 3 minutes.
especially at 9:30.
Yeah, right.
So congratulations.
Thank you, Joanne. I
Yeah.
really appreciate it.
You're
Really do.
welcome.
Vice Mayor Jordan, is there anything you'd like to add here?
Oh,
No, I can't talk right now, so.
so does this mean I move down, we trade spots?
No, we can stay where we are, right? Yeah, I don't want to be that close to her.
Oh, well, no, we do move.
Oh, really?
We do move. We don't have to do it now because we got so many stuffs here. Don't move right now.
Yeah.
All right, so we move on, and I'm completed with that.
Yes, sir.
Legal
You are.
and binding.
Yes, sir.
We now move on to, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. On to 12B, which will be designating the chair and vice chair of the Titusville Community Redevelopment Agency.
Generally, and you may want to address this, generally, as we've seen, although we didn't do it generally tonight, but generally, the mayor and the vice mayor become the chair and the vice chair of CRA.
That's correct.
And that's the way I would like to move that forward and nominate it in that way. However, before we discuss that further, let's get the card through. Do we have a card?
Yes, sir. One card, Stan Johnston.
You haven't passed at all tonight.
Yes, I have.
No, you just forgot to turn the card in once. That's not passing.
That was an important thing I wanted to share with you, that particular item.
All right, start the clock.
Thank you. Stan Johnston. And I go to these CRA meetings, and the CRA meeting is missing the point. And missing the point is just as obviously as what the 4 months of the sewage discharge in the river and the city denying it, falsely denying it, fraudulently denying it. In other words, saying it ended December the 19th. So far from the truth. I mean, so far from facts, videos, photos, and even admission on January the 12th. On January 12th, the city admitted that it went beyond December the 19th. But we went ahead and did a consent order, said we stopped on December 19th. So the CRA is in trouble. And I think you need to correct it. The two of you who are going to be this chair and vice chair of the CRA, you need to because we have, and what it's an ugly thing that I've said, that the city of Titusville is the Space Coast capital of the world, but it's also the Space Coast capital of spraying cars and people with piss, poop, and COVID. So that's not a nice thing for me to say, but you'll be hearing it more until people start telling the truth. Thank you.
All right. What we need to do here is get a nomination for, would these go together or separate?
It's up to you. It's
Okay,
up to you.
Then I would, then
You can do however you
I
want.
would, since I am now the chair and certainly intend to stay the chair, but the question now is also, we have the vice mayor who will become the vice chair. Can I get someone to make that motion?
I'm making that motion.
Second.
Member Nelson makes the motion, and Member Stokel has a second. All those in favor say yes? Yes. Opposed? We move forward. I will remain the chair, and Vice Mayor, boy, I'm going to get all screwed up now.
No.
Vice Mayor Jordan will become the vice chair of the CRA, and that's solid. So I appreciate that, City Manager.
Item 12C, you have a list of your outside agency appointments by members of council, and if you want to make any adjustments to those for the upcoming year, this is your time to do so.
I would say for myself, and this is how I normally get a lot of echoes in here on this, which I think is great. If you're on a board, not a board, well, yeah, board, you probably had a chance to develop a relationship that if we start over, we don't have. And we've got one more year solid with this council intact. I, for example, am in the Parks and Rec and have been for 5 years and feel like we've gotten a lot done there, and the voice of Titusville has been heard on that board. And as me being the liaison, I don't want to change that. The other thing I'm on now for the last year, I guess is the economic zone. And boy, have I learned so much, and that's not something I would want to leave, and I'll be very honest with you, I think that's one the mayor should be the one who's on. If there are other changes that you guys are interested in, then this is where you bring those up, but otherwise, it's my recommendation, unless you just don't like being where you're at, that we kind of hold it still while we have those relationships, especially coming out of COVID where we didn't necessarily get to meet a lot. Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm at. Anybody else? I don't see any numbers up there. Somebody tell me something.
I agree with you, because we have gotten to know the other people in our group. We have a relationship
Absolutely.
with it. So I think we need to stay.
I agree.
I think we have consensus there. Do we just move forward with that?
There's a card? No card for this. Card for this?
We didn't vote or anything, did we?
Oh, my God.
Made a decision to go to the restroom. We didn't have a card on that.
One card, Stan Johnston.
All right, go ahead.
This is an important card, and I want to speak to you because I've been at this particular agenda items long before you came here. from years ago and so forth. And here's what I've seen. You're not going to like me saying this, but because there's a lot of things you don't like me saying. But the thing is that it appears to me is this appointment to all these different committees and so forth like that is more than anything else is something to keep you busy. Just like when you go to school and you have busy work. It distracts you from what really you should be doing. And in this case, what you really should be doing is you should be look what your city manager is not doing and what he's doing. In this case, and I've referred to him as a dishonest, bungling bozo. You don't like that, but the thing is that it's horrible what has happened here. And I've given you these posters, these signs, and so forth like this, photos, videos, and the city of Titusville is, and the Indian River, is in big trouble. And it has, and some big things happened while this council members have been here this past year. Big things. And Mr. Larice has failed. He's failed terribly. And so what I'm saying is, suggestion to you is buck the system. Don't spend time on these committees. You need to spend the time home, right here, and take care of the business that you need to take care of. We have horrible dishonesty and corruption right here in some departments that are looked over by Mr. Larice, and he's doing a terrible job. So I want you to think about it, and that's what I'm recommending you to do, is to buck the system and do what you need to do to straighten out the city. What the city has done is horrible, and we're talking about false and fraudulent actions. And if you want to look up in Black's dictionary, which I was today, false and fraudulent, I mean, it has some special meanings to it. It has a meaning. It says that there was a deliberate attempt to issue false statements for the purpose of misleading somebody or people or whatever. And that's what we have here in the city of Titusville, again and again and again. Just like the consent order, just like ignoring the sewage spill and numerous other things, and ignoring the needs to clean floodways and ignoring the laws and regulations. The city of Titusville is in deep trouble. Thank you.
All right. That concludes that. We move on to the...
Mr. Mayor, there's a correction that needs to be made. Space Coast Transportation Planning Organization. I am the alternate on that.
Yes.
Yeah.
What did it say?
Jolene.
Oh.
Okay.
Joe right.
I don't know who. They'll,
We'll make that adjustment.
I never thought of that.
I just wanted you to know
Yeah,
that.
thank you. That's important. There is a difference.
Yeah.
All right, we good?
Huh?
Is that it?
That's all.
Okay.
That's all.
We'll just need confirmation from everybody that that's okay. No vote, just confirm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so we can move forward to petitions and requests. Petitions request part 2, you're the only one in here. I see no one. Yeah. Shh. Mayor and council reports. Council, raise your hand. Probably would be best. Go ahead, Member Robinson.
Yeah, only thing that I have in my walking and my exercising as I walk around the city, one of the things that was asked of me to bring up to the council, and I spoke to the city manager about it, and all of the things about we were not able to celebrate the volunteerism of the city this year, and neither last year. And it was, if there's something that we can do, I know that it was mentioned to me, and I mentioned this to the city manager about maybe a gift card or something, and that's a whole lot of paperwork and a whole lot of monster. And we can talk about that, but it's a lot of accounting that's involved with giving out gift certificates and when money is involved. But at minimum, I would think, I would ask that we send, at minimum, it doesn't have to do this, a letter of thought, a letter of appreciation, or something from the city.
Correct me if I'm wrong, we did that. To the boards and commissions that we didn't have the thing in October because
I
of
think we did
third, and I can
not
tell you,
not
I
this year.
did.
I
I
think we did it
signed
the-
all the letters and
Yeah.
I signed certificates.
Yeah,
So they were
No
recognized.
certificates
I signed.
it was just a certificate that said, appreciate your service,
Oh,
kind
did
of,
it?
yeah.
I actually signed a letter too.
Yeah, and you did, we drafted a letter
So
as
it was a
well.
letter
For
to
this
each
year?
member, yes. It was
Okay.
probably 2 weeks ago I did that.
So, but, I mean, that was the minimum, but I was asked to mention that, and if it wasn't for the accounting requirement and all of that, it would be a nice gesture if anyone else could come up with something else that would require less bookkeeping, so to speak.
Now, as a suggestion, we generally have done that at a certain time of the year. And we could, it's already in the budget, we could maybe forecast, we'll have to give staff time to put something together, but now that we seem to be coming out of COVID, we could perhaps organize a dinner like we have had in the past.
I just switched the timing. I mean,
Yeah,
I would
ju-
like, I
just
might be
change the
more in
time of
favor
the
of doing
year
the
that we
spring.
do, yeah.
You know, do it sometime in April or not too far into May with all the graduations, but April, late April, early May.
Right.
And to me, that's what I'd like to do. Instead of trying to do a gift card or something else, we just switch.
Yeah.
And kind of, because if we got to wait all the way to the next October,
Correct.
that is kind of a long time. We'll lose some of them too. It'll be,
Right.
they may not even get appreciated except for my
And I
letter.
believe the intent of council is because we had got that spike in Delta
Well,
variant.
and many, many, whatever you call many, several of the board members, volunteers, had said at that time that, you know, look, I don't think it's a good idea to have this, and if you do, I'm not coming because we had that real big spike. But I think we did the right thing, and I think I didn't even think about it until some of them had talked to me about putting it off. So I think that it was a good idea at the time, but I would agree that it'd be nice to cut that wait time in short, and let's maybe look at something, you know, we can talk more about this after Christmas, but see what staff can think about with maybe April.
Sure, and we'll come back with a recommendation to council as to where we'll plan the dinner and, you know, the particulars like we've done in the past. And I know Jolene's looking forward to that now. She was anxious to get the October event going, and it is. We like doing it. We really do. No joke.
really
We really
is.
do.
Yes, and so that's what I have to put on the table today, you know, that.
Well, and whoever said something to you concerning that, but I will say, and I didn't think it was very good when I'm signing them. I said, man, you know, because having been an athletic director for a long time, there's the banquet and there's getting a letter. Two different things. So
Yeah.
I felt that when I was back in my little office quietly signing those all weekend.
You just-
And it's good that they at least got the letter, but let's face it, that's not the same as shaking their hand and saying thank you. I agree. That's
And
just
having
kind of
a
how I
good
am.
meal.
Yep.
Good food,
Yeah, she
Yeah.
likes that food.
yeah. sounds-
Yeah, very good.
I, as a veteran,
You're back.
I want to thank the city of Titusville for honoring veterans. It was a lot of things done.
A lot of things.
Mayor, I served this country well, and many have, and given their lives and limbs for the country, and I think that what was done in the city and the representation of the city
Absolutely.
there was very, very much appreciated, and Grant, I guess that's where I'll stop.
No, and I appreciate that, and I'll play off of that one in a minute. I keep wanting to call her vice mayor.
Go ahead, you can call her that.
Well, one last night.
Member Nelson,
Okay.
vice mayor.
Okay, one last night. I want to thank you guys for coming out last Thursday to the opening of the Boys and Girls Club. They currently have, I think, 13 kids signed up from Friday, and they will open their doors to those kids December 6th. They are looking to have 80 kids in there.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow.
How about that?
A friend of mine brought a drum set
Oh, my goodness.
for the kids. And they said,
80 kids and a drum set.
That's
80
loud.
kids and a drum set. And I kept saying, why are you doing this? And
Yeah.
he said, it's electric. You can turn the volume down.
Oh,
And I said,
okay.
and the minute somebody walks off, they just put the volume right back up. So, but thank you guys. It meant a lot to have everybody there.
That was awesome.
Sarah's getting a private tour because she's working.
She wasn't there.
I have to say something. My personal thanks to Joe Lynn. My personal thanks to that, because you guys don't even know how that came about, and that was God putting me, Jolene and I together to make that happen. Because it was, I didn't know where I was going with it, but I was determined to make something happen. And thank you for your hard work.
Oh, thank you, Joe.
And your dedication to the project.
It turned out a cool project.
Great, yeah.
Next time you offer me a house, I'm gonna check to make sure there's a roof and a floor.
That's
Other
important.
than that, but it has been a cool project.
Vice Mayor Jordan.
Yeah, I will keep it short because I am getting sleepy, but huh? Is it 9 o'clock? Well, I'm definitely going to keep it short. I just want to tell you all just how touched you, just what you did tonight really touched me, because I've thought about it a long time. You know, of course, I've told others about my future, and many said, don't do it, but I've always believed in serving the community. And I must admit, I'm a little selfish on this one. I knew my time was short, and I just wanted to go out as vice mayor. And you all allowed me, mayor, vice mayor, to do that. And you showed your true character, especially you. And you just don't know what you've done. I really, really appreciate that.
I am expecting to get a hug for this.
You will get a hug.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, I know there's going to be a conflict because we've got the December 4th parade, which I can't be part of. I have my.
That's fine. We'll have enough.
Yeah, I've got my golf tournament for my school, and that night at 6 o'clock, I'm competing for the Best Bond 007 for the Children's Advocacy, which is going to be that night. I have 3 tables, just in case anyone, staff, wants to be there. It won't cost you anything, but I do have tables. I will send the clerk the advertisement, and just need to know who can attend. And if staff, you got anybody on staff who'd like to do it, certainly would love to have them there, because the table's already paid for, so it's just come and have a good meal and good fun, and I would be honored to see you all there. And the last thing is, want to congratulate Sarah for being nominated again for 4 Under 40.
That's
I know
very
it's an honor.
nice.
Yeah, it's very nice. And one day she's going to wake up and she won't be under 40. I promise you. So
She's got a couple
Member
years.
Jordan got under 70.
yeah, I get under 70. But
Under 70.
Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Too, and be safe.
Member Stokel.
Oh, I'm good.
All right, well, then let me throw a lot of this stuff together. First of all, I really do have to say that, Member Jordan, I was just work official, so Vice Mayor Jordan, it's my honor, and it's certainly something I feel good about doing, but I also, I'm the guy in the middle here. But certainly the time that we've had and continue to have. But it's going to be great.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it. Christmas parade, as you just noted, is December 4th, and the Kiwanis Taco Drive-Through Parade is December 11th. I just want to throw that out there. I will just simply say, and I mentioned it already, that city manager and I went to Imperial Estates Elementary and spoke about city government and what we do, and staff did a great job of putting a nice video together. Part of it was of a meeting, and then we did the intro that we always do, and then we did part of a meeting. I want to have them see me call a meeting to order. We talked a little bit about some stuff. Then I ended the meeting, of course, like I do, I said dismissed. And then we showed the Titusville talking points, and then we answered questions. So it was really, really nice. And, you know, a couple things. One was, one of my favorite questions was, do I live in the mayor's mansion? And the answer is no. And then the biggest hand, when we showed it on Titusville talking points, when Popeyes came up on the screen, the place went nuts. And we probably had about 80 or 90 fourth graders in there. So that was really, really a lot of fun. But no mayor's mansion. Jolynn, again, haven't said it, I can say it so many times, but you can't say it enough. The effort that you did there, and clearly Joe Robinson, with you know, without you, it doesn't happen. But without you, it doesn't happen. And it wasn't one of those things where you just walked around and directed people and got donations. You were full of paint, and you were doing you did it all. So very proud of you. And with that, the Boys and Girls Club is indebted to all of you, but you and your team especially.
I have to say, I came in one night, and we had been working all day, and it was a long project. And Robert looked at me, and he goes, "You know, you have paint all over your arm."
So no, I didn't. There were times you came in pretty tired, pretty tired,
pretty wet. I feel like a burden has. Yeah.
With that, from me, I did. Remember Robinson and I spoke at the American Legion on the day after Veterans Day, and it was really, really nice, and it was really, really different. It was definitely a party crowd.
Really?
And we
They were all enlisted.
And in all fairness, I think it was open bar till we got up to speak.
Wow.
So we had a good time. So and that was fun being with you at that event. And he had some really good military jokes that had him going. With that, I want to say happy Thanksgiving to everyone, staff especially, and council. And I'm thankful and blessed to have a council like this where I can honestly say any of the four can do the job. And every one of the four. Just look at our lives outside of here, and I mean all of us, myself, you guys. It's of service to our community. It's service to our county, our city, and the things we do. And, you know, I'll just leave it at that. I'm very proud to be a part of this, and I'm blessed and I'm thankful for you guys over there. And I can't see them, but those guys that put this stuff together behind the curtain, the man behind the curtain, there he is. Thank you very much. Happy Thanksgiving, City Manager.
Yes, sir. I've got 11 action items that I'd like to go over.
He's always funny that way.
Actually, I have one action item that we will have to take, and it's the bylaws of Space Coast League of Cities requires each municipality appoint a voting delegate and an alternate. Currently, it's Member Stokel, and the alternate is Member Robinson. So if I could just have you confirm those appointments, we'll.
I spent a year, and she only asked me to replace her once, and that's okay. If she's all right with me, I'm all right.
Okay. Yep. Well, I move that we approve Ms. Sarah as the lead. Oh, my God. I pressed yours. I pressed his.
You're already getting ready for that new seat.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor and Council, I move that we approve Sarah, voting delegate, and Mr. Joe Robinson as the alternate.
I have a motion and a second. As a technicality, do I have any cards? No cards. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Carries.
And I'd like to remind council that this will be a skip week, so you get 3 weeks in between the next council meeting.
We don't want that.
And we're very hopeful that the elevator will be fixed, and just to let you know, it's a complete rebuild of the elevator, so it's pretty time consuming. And on behalf of the 542 employees that represent the city of Titusville, we'd like to wish you all a very prosperous and happy Thanksgiving as you go into it. And be safe. And I agree with you, Mayor. We have a lot to be thankful for in our city. So with that, I think the attorney has one more item.
City Attorney.
Go ahead.
Just informational. You have
Oh,
a
okay.
memo in your agenda regarding some recent litigation involving the city of Titusville. So if there's any question regarding that litigation, you certainly refer them to my office as it is ongoing litigation.
Yep.
If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
All right. No questions? All right, thank you very much. Happy Thanksgiving. Adjourned.
All right.